Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the EGX Rezzed developer session, especially to those of you joining us on Twitch. I'm Katharine Castle from Rock, Paper, Shotgun, and for the next half an hour or so, we're going to be talking to Wan Hazmer on the middle here, and Daim Dziauddin on the end, about designing Final Fantasy 15 and beyond, specifically your new game, No Straight Roads, which is a rhythm action game where you play as a rock band fighting against an EDM empire. But before we get to that, let's talk Final Fantasy 15.
All right.
So Haz,
yes.
What's it like being one of the lead developers on a massive game like Final Fantasy 15?
Where do I start? It was a really big honor for me to be one of the lead game designers for Final Fantasy 15. For one thing, it's a Japanese company, right? And, a Japanese company accepting foreigners to be at a high position, like lead game designer, is a very rare thing. And I was very, very honored to be able to work with the people who has created the Final Fantasy that I love. I love 7, please don't argue, all right? So my favorite is 7, and I was working with Nomura-san before. I worked with the art director as well. I worked with so many people who have worked on 7 and 10 and all that, so. Yeah, it was really, really great experience. Yep.
Oh, that's great. And so you were largely responsible for kind of designing the towns and the cities and the checkpoints in the game. So where do you start? So someone says to you, create me a town. Where do you start in designing a Final Fantasy town?
Right. So specifically for Final Fantasy 15, the user experience that we wanted to deliver was a road trip experience, which means the romance of travel. Was very, very important, and that's why we chose Venice as one of the, base for one of the towns. Maybe we should play the...
Yeah, I think we've got our first
Let's play our first video, yep. Is it out? Okay, anyway, so... so the challenge was really to, just to create the romance of travel, and it's easier said than done. Because in all RPGs, you can travel. Right? But how do we make exciting towns, How do we make... towns that you really, really want to walk through. And we had a world map director. His name is Matsunami-san. So what he did was he gave me the world map. And then he told me that there's to be a town here, there's to be a town here, there's to be a town here. So Hazme, do your stuff. So at the maximum, we used to have something like 70 people working on the towns. So I was lead game designer, but I was more of a lead of the team. Plus, I was a game designer. So that's how I worked in Business Division 2 of Square Enix. And once we've determined that the town is located next to the sea or next to a river or whatsoever, then we have to determine the economy of the place, the history, and where are the photographic places, the photogenic places, for example, and also what will the buddies do in the team. So I had to work closely with the lead game designer of the buddies team. What does the AI do in this particular town? So for example, this one as well, we all know Venice, right? But Venice has a more of a horizontal layout, right? So in Final Fantasy 15, we start off with something very, very realistic. So the graph is like, this reality and this fantasy. But as you go further down the line, there'll be more fantasy and less reality. So Altische was actually in the middle. So we had to make a realistic Venice. But at the same time, it has to be fantastical. So we decided to go for a vertical structure of Venice. So you can actually ride the gondola while looking down onto the city line.
And kind of what do you think actually makes a good Final Fantasy town?
That's a tough one. But for me, I think the most important keyword for towns is it has to be memorable. So whenever you go out there and you talk to people, rather than say that, I've traveled to this town A to do this quest or whatever, it's more like, oh my God, Prompto actually did this in this town. Oh my God, the people are actually eating till late at night. Whereas the others, they sleep on time and all that. So these are little things that you want to. It's more like creating stories. I rode a gondola and looked down into the city, right? So making user stories for me is very important. User experience, the romance of travel for me is one of the key points of making the towns in the game. Yep.
And spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't played Final Fantasy 15 yet, were you really sad when Leviathan basically destroyed it and smashed it to smithereens?
I mean, SimCity, right?
Yes.
So the joy of making a city is to destroy it as well. So I was actually joyed when the Leviathan took over, and it was very difficult, because we had to create a city, and all the technical difficulties of making a big summon, actually destroying a city. So that was really a lot of fun, to be honest.
That's very good. So, and also, Lestalem is another big city, which I think we also have a video of, which will hopefully be queued up in a minute.
Yep.
That also has its own unique vibe, but it's very, very different to Altisha. Again, sort of, how do you keep everything consistent within kind of the Final Fantasy universe? Right.
So for Lestalem, it had to be unique in the sense that it was the main hub of the open world part of Final Fantasy 15. And we want to be consistent with the continent at the time. So although I'm lead game designer, I also had to take care of the setting of the town, also the playability of the town as well, the quest and all that stuff. So we really, really had to design the quest, the history of the town and all that. So if we can play the next video. So Lestalem is actually one of my favorite towns because what we wanted to do with this town is we wanted to make a town that is fitting for like a desert, a desolate kind of area, but at the same time, it's still rich in economy. So it seems poor, but everyone's actually very happy, So the first town that we looked into was Cuba.
Right, yeah.
Actually. So Havana, sorry, town is Havana in Cuba. Semantics. So, so we looked at Cuban architecture.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the markets, we actually looked at Middle Eastern markets. And when it comes to the food culture, we wanted to make sure, because there's a electric generator factory at the back. So we had workers working till late at night.
Yeah.
Yep. So I thought that what better food culture than Malaysia?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we go to stalls and we don't need alcohol at all to stay until 3 a.m. and just talk rubbish over a cup of tea, So, and so a lot of the food in the game and also the schedules of the NPC as well are based on Malaysian food or stall culture, hawker culture,
And how did you sort of feel about, because there's quite a lot of say, product placement in Final Fantasy 15. So Lestalem in particular has got loads of like big cup noodle signs.
Yes.
Was that kind of, were you responsible for putting those in as well?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the business, the marketing people were also in charge of that. Yeah, but I know product placement can be a very sensitive thing, right? Oh no, here we go again. But at the same time, I feel that the collaboration was justified because we wanted to do a user experience about a road trip, right? And coincidentally, just near the building in Shinjuku, we had the cup noodles.
Yes.
Headquarters there as well, Nissin. So we thought, they came over and we thought maybe we can collaborate on something, And Coleman is also very nearby as well.
Yeah.
So we actually went to their kitchen. Right. To cook the cup noodles and come up with very interesting customizations,
Yeah.
All the, not to say all, but most of the food that you see in the game, we had to cook them first.
Yes, yeah.
To make sure it's delicious.
So I've been told, yeah.
Yeah, because the art director, he's a chef as well, so he cooks and then we see it. If it tastes delicious, okay, it's time to do the 3D photo scan. So road trip again, the romance of travel. I love traveling a lot. Maybe that's why I became lead game designer of the towns. I love travel. I love human culture, photographs, food. I'm a big foodie, so which is why the food in the game has to look perfect.
Yes.
As well.
Which is your favorite Final Fantasy dish?
Wow. Oh my God, I think I have to say the beef stew.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, the beef stew. Never play that game at night. Very dangerous. Yep.
The stomach will be rumbling. But you also sort of played a small role or kind of talked with the music director as well about kind of creating the overall sound of the towns as well,
yes,
right?
Exactly. My good friend Falk, he used to be the mixing engineer. Right. For Final Fantasy 15. So what we did was we made sure that, I love dynamic music. I seriously think that music is underrated. It's an underutilized in games. So we did a very, very simple, because it was towards near the end or near the master of the game, so we thought we would put in something very nice at the end, which is to make sure that when you enter several parts of the town, the music actually changes a bit. Like for example, if you go to Hammerhead, the first ever gas station that you see, and again, Hammerhead is the most realistic checkpoint, rather, because the fantasy level at the time would be very low, right? So when you walk into the diner, then you'll have a more jazzy kind of remix a bit. So we actually last minute put in all the the boxes.
Right,
when you enter, it goes into that remix and all that. So I think it was a really, really good result at the end.
And so to very naturally segue into what you're doing now, you've now started your own indie studio with Daim, and are making...
We're cousins, by the way.
We're cousins, by the way,
Yes, with to make a game called No Straight Roads, which is all about music.
Yes.
And I think we have the trailer to show as well, brand new trailer.
Yes, it's a world debut, and we've decided to choose EGX Rezzed as the part to show the trailer. So
here
please watch.
New faces around here. Hi, my name is Mayday, and tonight I'm gonna play you a ballad of our city. Okay, here we go. This is our city, Vinyl City. We play our music, play freely until they came. It was NSR, an empire of EDM. They took over the city led by Tatiana. Oh, Tatiana, she's the big boss and has a crew, and they're so bad and they smell bad. They must be stopped. It's time we stand up and fight against that horrible battle with them to the very end. Fight for our rights. The music revolution is about to start. And so you better watch your back. We are going to conquer you tonight. We'll face your EDM and prowl. But first let me finish this song. Take a piece of this bag and a fucking that song. It will be me. Woo! It's okay with me. That's right. We are gonna hijack their concerts with rock.
The age of rock is over.
For my music will ripple to the rims of the universe and back.
Baby, I'm electrified.
So you're gonna fight NSR with that tiny guitar of yours?
Of course. And I'll win too. Wanna know why?
Sure.
Because my tiny guitar is awesome!
So there we are.
That's our trailer. Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
That's definitely not Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it's not. Sorry to disappoint you guys.
So where did the inspiration come from to kind of, this is your very first game, like why kind of choose a kind of music kind of action game?
Right, so first of all, two of us worked in Tokyo, right? So every 2 Saturdays or so, we go to this place called Ikebukuro, very near our place, and then we will just meet up, and we always bounce off ideas. In fact, we've been bouncing ideas since we were young, but this specifically, we were talking about it even when I was in Square Enix.
Yeah.
And he keeps asking me, when are you going to leave Square Enix to make this game? Come on,
I guess because we grew up having so many ideas since we were kids, and it was kind of like inevitable that we create our own product,
Yeah.
So we were tied to companies before that, and we were doing this thing. But I think at our hearts, we were always thinking that we will create something on our own,
Yeah.
So when we started our own studio, we felt like it is so good to be able to create something, and for the first time, share it with the world.
Yeah, because we always create something ourselves, but we don't share it.
Yeah, just like love among ourselves kind of thing.
Yeah, we have this video camera, and then we used to take a lot of movies that we'll be very ashamed to show to the world. Yep. But anyways, for No Straight Roads, the inspiration was actually because I am a very big rhythm gamer.
Right.
You know, I've played since Beatmania 1, and I've played all the hardcore games like Pop and Music, and all this, all the way to very fun games like Space Channel 5. You know, Jamalami, Para Rapper, Guitar Man. I can go on, and we're not going to be finished. But but every time I want to invite my friends to play with me, and even this guy, you know, when I want to invite him to come with me to play these rhythm games, they said, "I'll just watch you play." Okay, so I wanted to bring the joy of a rhythm game because everyone loves music. It just doesn't make sense to limit the love for music only to rhythm games, you know? Yeah. So which is why I thought, how about putting the joys of a music game into a game that doesn't require the motor skills required for as a rhythm game, right? So because of that, we had it in such a way that the boss attacks, the enemy attacks follow the music, but you do not have to. Right. So you can jump whenever you want, you can move whenever you want. It's just that, you know, during the chorus, the boss will do a hand slam. Yeah. So I think everyone here will have a musical instinct, you know, when the chorus will come, like 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. You know, I'm bad. You know, so you know that. So because of that, you know, we are trying to use that musical instinct for you to play our game. Yeah. So that's how the inspiration got into the game. Yeah.
And the how did you come up with the actual kind of core idea of like a rock band versus EDM? Do you hate EDM?
No, I don't. No, we don't. I mean, if we hate EDM, then we'll do EDM versus rock instead. Right. Right? Because all the bosses are based on the EDM empire, right? So, yeah, we do love our music.
I guess it is quite the opposite. I think our love for EDM makes us make the game is basically full EDM. You know? So because we love the music so much, so it's kind of like our love letter to the EDM music. Right. We love rock as well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Although you can't play guitars though.
Yeah, I can't play guitar. Yes, I do hold the guitar in my previous trailer, but no, we don't. We don't play.
I think we've got one of the fourth video that we have.
Oh yeah.
It's just kind of your kind of announcement trailer. But yes, you're there holding your guitar, and then you reveal right at the end of the video, it's like, can anyone play guitar here in this video? It's like, oh no, I can't play guitar.
Actually, to be honest, he does play the bass guitar though.
I had to pretend to not play the guitar. So
yeah, he had to pretend. But I play the drums.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And each character is, as we've seen both in the new trailer and your intro video now playing behind us, each character is very distinctive. And Daim, you worked as a concept artist on Street Fighter V. Yes. How did you kind of, what did you bring to No Straight Roads kind of from your experience with that?
Oh, for No Straight Roads, you know, when we want to make, so it all started with Hazmer when he wanted to make a rock versus EDM kind of game, right? So the first thing we want to do is like what kind of art direction that should go with this, right? And I guess it was not a hard decision where we think that it has to be fun and colorful, you know. So it was a very easy decision to go. Let's make everybody very colorful, even the skin colors, you know. So what you see now is just like green, yellow, but in the whole world of NSR, there's green, yellow, purple, red, blue, you know, every color, you know. And it is also a representation of, I think, kind of like ourselves. You know? We're not super serious kind of guys. We take ourselves very...
Hell no.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. So I think it is a reflection of us in the product where we're very loose and kind of silly little people. So in the game as well, we want to keep the game loose and silly and funny and wacky, you know.
Yeah.
Our team is just full of crazy people.
Yeah. And kind of for the bosses as well, they're all kind of their own. Each one kind of represents kind of slightly different kind of genre or type of kind of EDM music. Like, how did you kind of come up with concepts for those? Did it kind of take a lot of work to kind of think how to kind of make a musical genre into a kind of visual kind of character in a way?
It is a very fun process, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think we've said this a couple of times to some people, is that we don't have like a rigid process when we create a level or a boss, you know. We keep it very loose because usually it starts with kind of like Hazard, you know, like he will say, let's have a stage where we fight a child prodigy, you know. They say, oh yeah, that's pretty cool because we want to try to get a vast variety of artists. So child prodigy, then Hazard will say something like, what about, can she be like a pianist? It's like, oh yeah, then we can do like a classical thingy, you know. So once we have the idea, we don't kind of like funnel ourselves to like a specific direction, like, okay, it has to be this, then do the game design, kind of like, okay, then create the characters, okay, finish, give it to the musicians, they create the music, done. We don't do like that, you know. You kind of like, we bounce around the ideas to everybody in the team the whole time. We keep it very organic and loose, you know. So once you have the piano thingy, we send it to the musician, say, do you have any idea what to compose for this music thingy, you know? And then he will compose a piano music, pass it to us, and continue with that.
Yeah, so the idea is that, you know, at the surface level, it has to be interesting. Yeah. Right? You have to catch people. This is something I learned from Final Fantasy 15 as well, you know. When we sit down together, guys, Final Fantasy, you know, recently it's not very relevant anymore, is it? You know, when we started with the Final Fantasy 15, and we had to, you know, make sure that it's relevant, and that's why we came up with the romance of road trip, where where everyone knows what that feeling, you know. So for us also, we have to make sure that the boss ideas catch your attention. Like for example, we have a DJ who thinks that he's in the center of the universe. Shall we play the next video? Yep, thank you. So the DJ actually thinks that he's in the center of the universe, hence he actually spins the planets like a disc. So for people who are new to NSR, they will go, whoa, what the heck is this? You know? And then after that, we go into the depth of the visual storytelling, and this is something that Daim feels very strongly about.
I think for both of us, we are so passionate with stories and in movies and games as well. You know, we are big movie buffs, watch so many movies. But for games, I think for us, we don't want to make an interactive movie, you know? So what we want to do with our game is that we want to respect the medium. So instead of, you know, telling the story like, okay, this is a story, okay, now you play. Okay, here's a bit of a story again, play, you know. We try our best to kind of like, instead of telling the players like, this is a story, we want the players to experience the feeling of the story while they are playing it, you know. So you might not realize it when you play the game, you know, but like as you play, I think you subconsciously feel like when the boss is like in the middle of the solar system, you know, we're trying to say that, you know, he's like, the world revolves around him kind of thing.
Yeah, we don't have a cutscene that says, hey, the planets are revolving around me, defeat me, you know. I mean, we worked in Japanese companies, so we know we know that kind of style of storytelling, right?
We don't want like a surface level kind of like I'm the best, you know, like fight me and, you know, I'm the, we don't want that kind of storytelling.
And sort of, as we can sort of just see sort of behind us, you know, that, you know, I really love the idea that you're basically running around on a giant kind of vinyl record, but also, there are the planets. There's kind of, you know, it's working on two levels there. Like, was it a kind of instant? We've got a disco boss. We've got to be, you know, we've got to have a kind of a disc kind of stage to play on. Like, was that or kind of was it that kind of situation? Like an easy kind of match to like the environments to the kind of musical genres.
Yeah, actually, the way we approach the bosses is first, you know, the catch, right? But also the other thing is, this is a bit strange, but you know, like how we view creativity. Right? Why are the bosses actually playing the music? Right? Why are you fighting them, and why are they fighting back? Right? So every of these bosses, they have their own motivations to play music, and from that motivation onwards, then we come up with what are the spatial relationships? What's the visual storytelling that we can do in this game? Maybe you can elaborate on that.
So it's, again, you know, it's not like a linear progression of like this, then this, then this. It's kind of very organic thing. So on the other hand, we have the boss with the child pianist, right? So her theme is more like a nature, foresty kind of thing, you know. So it's kind of like we naturally think that when we fight her, and since she is like the youngest character in the game, it's all about her growth in the game. So that's why as you fight her, the whole stage grows as well, you know. So it's something that just happens as we go along, bouncing the ideas among ourselves.
And anyone can come up with an idea. So in our company, we have sprints every 2 weeks. So we have a goal. Let's say, okay, let's come up with something with a boss with a classical theme. And the programmer can say something about the visuals, exactly. No problem. The artist can talk about the technical parts, so we have no problem with that. So that's how we bounce off our ideas.
Yeah, I think the people in our team, we don't say you're specifically the modeler. You're specifically, you know, like everybody has a say in anything. You know, we say don't bottle up everything. We can share everything what we want, and I think that reflects the product that we have made. You know, like for example, all of this stuff, the effects at the back. Yeah, that's done by a programmer who has no official like a certificate in game and like a visual design or graphic, but he will say like I want to try to do this, you know, and we let them do it, and because of that we get amazing results from our team, you know.
And this is actually a representation of our visual storytelling as well, right? So the DJ is actually so egoistic to the point that he gets swallowed by his own ego, and we represent that by a black hole. So one way of, those are the many ideas that our team came up with when it comes to the story of the game.
That's great. I think that's probably all the questions that I have. We've got about 10 minutes for if anyone from the audience would like to ask a question. There will be a mic is being delivered to up the front. So if you have any questions, then please do kind of form a queue behind. While you're thinking of a couple of questions, I've got a couple of backup ones. So kind of what was it like kind of working or kind of coming from a big studio, say like Square Enix, and the other companies that you've worked for, Daim, like to actually creating your own indie studio? Like what were the challenges in kind of like setting that up and kind of being, you know, now you're in charge?
Well, the biggest challenge is money.
Right.
I mean, you know, we were in many game shows, right? Tokyo Game Show, PAX East as well. We just came back from there, and usually when I was a Square Enix employee, because I was given the privilege of even doing PR for Final Fantasy 15 as well, and you know, I just walk into the E3 booth, and that's it. The booth is already done. You know, but for me, I have to buy the TVs. I have to get all the items and all that, and, and then I have to because you know, so I have to do the accounting. I have to do the HR as well. You know, so it's a very interesting experience for me, and also but it might not have changed that much, but I feel that because half of us are fresh graduates actually in the team, and it's very refreshing. To be honest, working in Square Enix was an honor. I mean, I was surrounded by veterans, but you know, veterans are veterans, right? But when we have fresh graduates in the team, we have very fresh ideas. You know, as long as everyone follows the sprint, every 2 weeks we come up with a goal, and we come up with the deliverables, and everyone comments on it, and that'll be fine. You know, so that's why this game is actually. I think that the uniqueness is thanks to the team. To be honest,
for me. It's very easy for me because I'm so grateful to to experience a lot of working with a lot of big studios. But just my personal preference is that I much prefer a smaller group. You know, in a bigger studio, it's extremely difficult to, as a creative person, you know, to bounce off ideas or suggest something to the team or something, you know. Whenever you want to do something, whenever you're feeling a bit experimental, want to do something new, you have to go through a very complicated system, jumping through many hoops to get to that, you know. And I feel, to me, that deteriorates or even kind of demotivates you from, you know, like trying new things, you know. With a smaller team, it is so nice, you know. Everybody can just say anything, and I think that the openness of our studio really encourages people to just not be afraid to say anything.
Cool. Well, I think we have our first question.
Hey. Hi.
Apa khabar?
Khabar baik.
Khabar baik.
Malaysian?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Nice
High five.
It's not a question, actually. It's like a message. Just I want to say thank you for bringing the game to London, where I get to play it.
No problem.
I'm still studying here. But also, just I want to say I really appreciate you using Malaysian voices in the game.
Wow, I'm so happy to hear that.
I'm very happy to hear that as well.
It's like it feels nice.
It's nice,
Yeah,
it's something to be proud about. You know?
Sama-sama. But I mean, seriously, I mean, the problem with Malaysia is sometimes they're not proud of their own culture.
Yeah.
We have this term called local, which means it's low quality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So yeah, I think I'm trying my best to bring in Malaysian voices. We're trying to best to do that,
I think that was a very good topic that was brought up because it was our deliberate decision to say we're not going to go for like a Hollywood route or like a Japanese anime route,
Yeah.
Because we love our stuff, we love the way we talk, and said let's put this, in our game.
And guess who complained a lot about the voices? The Malaysians. Yeah, so that's why. See?
So that's like my mindset that I hope that with this game we can kind of like re-engineer people to thinking like our voices are cool, it's there's nothing wrong with our accents.
Yeah, I mean Michelle Yeoh in Star Trek, no problem.
Yeah, exactly. Right, we've got our second question.
Hiya.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, so you've worked for Square Enix, which is one of the biggest names in the industry right now.
No,
I just wanted to know if working within the company has inspired the style of work you currently do in your company, or you wanted to do something so completely different and remote from what you've already done?
Right, very good question. Actually, both. So I took out the bad parts and took in the good parts, So the good part being that, the way Tabata-san worked, he's a director of Final Fantasy 15, by the way, so he's a bit different than a lot of Japanese people. He's a bit crazy, in a very good way, And he has this skill called Tekisai Tekisho, which means assigning the right people to the right task. One very good example is that the ex-lead game designer for the vehicle team, he's now the development manager, by the way. So he actually drove a truck for 7 years, full-time, and he studied CG for 6 months, and then he became a game designer in Square Enix. And they actually gave the vehicle task to him, because, hey, he drives lorries, right? Oh, it's lorry here, not truck. Yeah, okay, sorry.
Lorry, yeah.
And he drove into a lot of places, So he was also in charge of a lot of the road trips that we had to go through, to experience the world. So that's very exciting. So to me also, the concept artist, Ellie Yong, she had no prior game development experience. And for me that's exciting, right? Because she was drawing murals for hotels and restaurants, and because she doesn't know games that well compared to us, she can do something more unique than what we can come up with, And Tabasang is the type of director who just assigns crazy people. So only the crazy people will go up. Oh, that speaks a lot about me, but... So I also hire only crazy people in the team. I mean, they have to have a minimum amount of skill, of course, or else they'll kill me. All right? But apart from that, one of the environment designers cosplays a female character, right? Yeah, so, hey, you're in. You're crazy, you're in. So many other people. Yeah, we even have the senior art director. His name is Brian Kong. So he actually was a senior art director of an advertising firm. He has no prior game development experience either, but he's now in charge of making the city feel annoying. It has to be full of advertisements, right? And I love it when we have something fresh like this in the team.
You sound like you have a very interesting team.
We do, yes. I can't speak enough about the team. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Of people.
Okay, so we've got another question.
Hi, with the way that VR has been developing since it's been released, do you think that in the future you'll ever make a VR game with your company?
Do you know that I made a VR game before?
No.
Yep, it's called...
I'm learning how to.
I mean, it involves fishing and it involved Final Fantasy 15. It was Monster of the Deep, Final Fantasy 15. So I was a lead game designer for that as well. Oh, that was so interesting. I mean, I told Tabata-san, that I'm going to leave Square Enix after I created Final Fantasy 15. And then he said, hey, Hazmer, you want to make a VR game involving fishing in Final Fantasy 15? I'm like, sure. Okay, so I spent 1 year for that. VR is actually a very interesting technology. I don't know whether we'll be making a VR game anytime soon, but for me, VR, because user experience for me is very important, Back in the 80s, you have a controller, right? I mean, of course you have a controller now, but, you have only that, right? And then what happens on the TV and what happens on the controller and what happens in your brain is totally 3 different things, right? You have to press up to do something else in the game, but now with Final Fantasy 15, for example, you look good as Noctis, right? So you're much more closer as a role-playing character. And then in VR, that transition from controller to screen to game is way less. So for me, VR AR is the future, but there are a lot of obstacles. For example, VR, you're very tied to the device, number 1. Number 2, the number of headaches that you can cause. You can kill people with VR if you're not careful. It's seriously, I mean, like in Final Fantasy 15, right, for Monster of the Deep, it was very difficult to control the headache. It's not even you're not even driving, you're just walking, and it can already cause some headaches. So I think if you really want to make a VR game, you have to be very careful about these restrictions.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We've probably got time for just these 2 more questions.
Okay.
So, but the guys will be around afterwards if you want to come and talk to them. Go ahead.
Yep, go ahead.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello. So, in your honest opinion...
Oh, this is going to be good.
Already terrible start. So, in your honest opinion, why do you think Final Fantasy VIII did bad? And what would you have done with your fresh ideas to improve it?
Who said Final Fantasy VIII did bad? Well, so I don't know. This is just my opinion, honest opinion. Final Fantasy VIII, I did enjoy the storytelling and all that. Oh, someone's already showing the thumbs up. PR marketing manager for Final Fantasy behind, so I had to be careful with my words. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII for me was a better game than 8, simply because of the battle system for me. So 8, the drawing was tiresome, and I'm a perfectionist kind of gamer. I want to get everything. I got the gold chocobo, the black chocobo, all the chocobos, right, in 7. And 8, the drawing system was tiring me a bit. So I don't know what you think is bad about FF8, but I enjoyed the game. Just that one part, the drawing part was a bit, Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really love Final Fantasy VIII for the record.
Okay,
that's my favourite.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's all right, it's all right. It's fine. Go ahead, our final question.
Hey, so I just wanted to ask, when you were building the capital city of Insomnia, what did you base it off of?
Right, so I heard that some people heard that it was based on London, for one thing, right? But we were referring to European, more like accents. Like, for example, the architecture and all that, but it's actually really based on Shinjuku. So the Metropolitan Building, if you search online, Metropolitan Building, you actually really see the citadel of Insomnia. And also the surrounding cities, they are really, the streets are small, right? Although in Kingsglaive, Insomnia had a much more layered structure, but yeah, generally it's mostly based on Shinjuku and plus some European architecture.
Right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, well, I think that's probably all we've got time for. Thank you to you guys for joining us today, and thank you for everyone coming to come and hear them chat.
Thank you so much.
And also everyone watching on Twitch. You can go and check out the game on the show floor.
Yes, it's just downstairs.
Downstairs, that way.
To the right.
So yeah, thank you for coming and hearing us talk, and thank you, and have a great rest of EGX Rezzed.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.